Welcome to a special season of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. This season, our podcast is showcasing past and current appraisers who have used their valuation knowledge and skills to invest and build wealth. How did they do it? What have they learned along the way? What can we learn from them so you can be wealthy, wise, and financially free? Your host is real estate investor, entrepreneur, and appraiser Michael Hobbs.
Well, hey friends, welcome to another informative, engaging, and in this case, definitely exciting episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hobbs, and I'm excited to hear the perspective, the experience, and the accomplishments of our guests. But before we do that, I need to ask you to do what only you can do, and that is hit that subscribe button. Your generosity, your compassionate action shares the love as we head into the end of the year, the holidays, and what better way to give a gift that keeps on giving? So with that, I'm so excited to have Cody with us. Cody, thanks for joining us for this special season of our podcast.
You bet, Michael. It's good to be here. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate your podcast. So they're great. I'm learning all kinds of good stuff from each one of them. So keep on doing the great work there.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. People ask, like, why do you do it? I was like, well, one, it's fun. But two, I'm like, it's like every episode, there's some nugget or nuggets of learning. Now, maybe not all of them apply per se, but I'm nonetheless uninformed as a result of it. So it's totally cool. And also quite grateful, because otherwise I wouldn't have a sense of knowing what may exist or what possibilities are out there, or even how broad and diverse the many employment opportunities are in and around real estate and the valuation profession.
It's very true. Very true.
Appreciate that, buddy. Well, hey, man, we want to know, were you born this way, or how'd you get into the valuation and appraisal profession?
Oh, by accident. It's like, I hear that very often on your podcast. It's like, well, man, I really didn't.
Oh, me too.
To do this, but
me too. What part of my plan?
Yeah, that's right. So, hey, it kind of happened that way with me. Again, my name is Cody Jetton, and I'm in the Raleigh, North Carolina market. So it was by accident. I got my undergraduate and graduate degrees from Texas A&M University. I got my MBA with a concentration in real estate finance, and my plan was to work for a developer and or an investor, and so I sent off resumes and just happened to have a resume that J.B. Featherston, one of the former presidents of the Appraisal Institute, picked up. He recognized that this was, and this was back in 1983. He recognized that it was a merged document, and that
Really?
that's like nothing today.
That's amazing. I mean, to put that together, like that, you got to have some serious background knowledge to be able to pick that kind of thing out.
So, well, I started out with a concentration in computer science. So I learned all these languages, Fortran, COBOL, C, C++, all that, so computer science was still in my mind when I shifted over to real estate, finance. But so we started with 120 some odd people in the MBA program, and we ended up with like 42 at the end. So it was a lot of attrition and a lot of competition, and so you had to do something kind of unique, and so I put my skills to use and created this merged document. It was something similar to an Excel sheet merging with a Word document, and I had a data.
Holy cow, you were so far ahead of your time. People didn't even know what that was.
Well, so he recognized that. I mean, he's a visionary, and he said, okay, I want this guy on my team so we can create this report writer software so that appraisers can just input in Excel, put all their subject information, the comparable data, and then also there's a code 1983. And so you had to also understand the database management system that went with the trio, with that suite. Put your comps in the database management system, and then that would link to the Word document as well. He saw all that, and so we tried working on that for years. And the software wasn't the problem. The problem was the hardware, because all we had dug in were dot matrix printers, and our storage capacity was this little floppy disk. It wasn't enough to hold but like 5 pages of an appraisal report. But we gave it our best. And so now, 40 some odd years later, or less than that, we've got these nice software programs that can merge everything. It looks great. But anyway, so he picked up my resume from somebody else, and he tagged me, called me up, and said, "Hey, I'm JB Featherston, and I want you to come up here and go to work for Merrill Lynch." And so I went up there, met with him, and I just said, "Well, yeah, commercial real estate appraisal sounds pretty good." They paid me a lot of money, and that's how I started in the business. That was 42 years ago. And
Did they pay you a lot of money in New York, a lot of money, or did they pay you a lot of money in Dallas, a lot of money?
well, it was more money than I had ever seen.
Oh, I
I'll
understand.
put it that way. It's
I
all
remember some of those offers coming out of undergraduate. I mean, but there's a lot of money when it's a New York money, and then there's a lot of money in Dallas, because they do adjust for the
yeah.
cost of living depending on what market you go into.
Well, since I'd never experienced New York money, I mean, Merrill Lynch, is a New York company, and I guess they're used to paying pretty high amounts. But and hey, I was just happy. I was very happy.
That's real, man. Congratulations. I mean, to get the opportunity to exit a very well-regarded program like the real estate program down there at A&M, and then to get a call to a place like Merrill Lynch, like man, many seek the opportunity, few get the acceptance. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. There was some luck involved, and so I worked for national firms until I moved to North Carolina, and we just had a very, very fortunate and grateful for all the people that I've worked with through the years, and the guys and gals who've been mentoring me through the years. I'm still up for mentoring, but yeah, it's been great. It's fantastic profession. So
What type of work did you do when you went to Merrill Lynch? You're the first person, on many of our episodes, we have a first. You are not the first A&M grad, but you are definitely the first Merrill Lynch out of college claimer. Like, you get that award. So, like, what kind of stuff did you go to work on when you joined that type of firm?
well, it was just commercial real estate appraisals. I mean, just basic stuff. There were some really nice properties and nice portfolios, and we did a lot of the upper end projects in Dallas, Houston. I mean, we were flying all over the place. Went to California, went to Chicago several times, all along the East Coast. So, I mean, we had some really big appraisal projects for some of their, wealthier investors. And so, I mean, I started off great. And I think I got kind of spoiled to working on the upper end exciting stuff. And
I could only imagine. And I mean, for you getting to work, step into that type of entity and organization, like, was it just you, or was it like a big team, or talk to us about that?
always a big team. So Merrill Lynch also had a commercial real estate brokerage division. There were probably 25 guys and gals over there. And we shared offices with them. And excuse me, there were about 5 of us appraisers working there. And I was the youngest in the squad at the time. Went by
Wow.
back then.
So when you're that wet behind the ears in that decade, what type of like how do you start the learning progression? Obviously, you come out, you're educated and stuff, but you're not hands on. And did they just start throwing you like reel to reel, and you're putting it up on you're looking at microfiche, or you're sitting there coming back and they're just handing you like 7-pound reports and you got to read through it like a paralegal at a law firm? I mean, what was it like?
So my first week, so this is how J.B. Featherston thinks. My first week, he came in with a big stack of newspapers, and it was like 2 or 3 loads of newspapers, brought them into my office. And I had my own office back then too. That was pretty cool. And it was like, 32nd story of a high-rise building. But anyway, so all these newspapers, and he said, okay, Cody, your first assignment here this week, you're going to take a full week. And he brought in a 3-ring binder and all that kind of stuff. He said, here's what you're going to do your first week here at Merrill Lynch. You're going to go through all these newspapers and you're going to cut out all these clippings that pertain to S&Ls and I-30 condo fraud that's going on with that. And you're going to go back in time. You're going to, it looks like 2 years worth of newspaper articles. And I want you to collect this for me. I want you to organize it and then read every single one of those articles. And I want you to summarize them at the end. And we're going to have a meeting on Friday. And I want to see what you learn from it. And so I didn't know.
What are you talking about? That's like a 400 level university course. Like,
oh, man.
Like right in there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wasn't prepared for that. I was prepared for, okay, I'm going to sit down. I knew the equivalent of Excel back then. I was going to just to work, and he kind of sidelined me. So I did that for a week, cut out all these articles, learned about what was going on with the S&L crisis. And, sometimes I feel like Forrest Gump because throughout my career, I've been, at the right place at the wrong time or, whatever. And I just happened to be in Dallas, Texas, kind of like the epicenter of the S&L crisis when it was going on. And so Friday noon, I came in there, had my notebook. I said, okay, it's all organized chronologically. I read everything. I know what's going on. And he said, okay, well, I want you to tell me about this. I said, this is terrible. It's fraud. It's these S&L owners colluding, and they were part of a Bible study, and they decided that they were going to collude on this and brought in appraisers, and you can say the appraisers probably knew something was going on there, but anyway, it was pretty complex, a great scheme, but I said, this is terrible. And he said, Cody, I'm telling you right now, 1983, this is going to change the appraisal industry. You're going to see something that is forever going to change our industry, and it's not going to be good. And sure enough, by FIREA, all this stuff leading up to FIREA 1989, so in between there, a few years later, I went to work for an accounting firm. And one of the things that we did was we did audits of S&Ls. And we'd come in Friday morning. They'd say, okay, well, you're going out on an audit and meet us at the airport. Your bag's packed. And that's what we did. And then they took us over to the terminal. We had no idea where we were going in the country. We didn't know how long we were going to stay. We got on a plane. We got off to that city. And, Yeah, I was like working for the NSA or something like that.
It sounds like you're working for the NSA. I mean, that or you're like one of those nice spy movies.
Yeah,
So
it was kind of bizarre, but yeah, so they'd pick us up in a black van at the airport. The sheriff would be there with it. We'd go to this SNL. We'd get out. The sheriff would go in there. He'd talk to the security folks. They'd round up everybody in the SNL, move them out. They'd keep the manager there and lock the doors. And we were in, for the weekend, and escorted out to our hotel, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so JB Featherstone was right. It Because of the collapse of the SNLs, it really changed the appraisal profession, forever. MAIs, went from being, this type of commercial real estate appraiser, and then we became regulated, and it did change the profession, just like he said. So yeah, so there I was, ground zero in Dallas, Texas, and and so, but yeah, great mentors along the way. I've been very fortunate to have some great people teaching me about the profession and about investing as well.
how'd you come to leave Merrill Lynch?
Oh, it's like every every everything else in my profession. Somebody came to me and said, you know, we'd sure like it if you came to work for us over here at ABC Company, and we're going to pay you more than what you're making right now, and we're going to give you this and that, and you're going to have a great experience. And uh, I have a hard time saying no. I like you know I've always liked adventures, so yeah, but go to work for another company, and it just having all these great times, learning experiences, and that's kind of the way it works for me. Just somebody comes to me and says, we want you to work for us. So,
I appreciate that. So what was it like after you had the opportunity to get foreshadowing of what was to come, having spent a week pouring through pounds of newspapers and clippings? So how did your exposure to and indoctrination in the valuation profession grow after that first week?
oh, well, I'd like to say that it was all up upward, and that I did really well. I was a stellar appraiser, and from the very beginning. But that's not the case. So the crew and I would go out to lunch every day, and I'm appraising this shopping center, and I go over there and inspect it, come back, and then a couple of days later we're going out to lunch, and somebody else is driving, and I can't keep track of where we are. So we're out there, we have lunch, and we're headed back. And one of my mentors is talking to me. So, what do you think about this area? And I'm saying, well, I I don't think it's a very good area. And they say, so what is it that would make you think that? Well, it's these older single family homes, and just an older area. And so we get back to the office, or no, I'm sorry. So we turn the corner, and we're going on this other road, and I mean 3 blocks later we come to my shopping center that I'm praising. So so I learned how valuable a neighborhood analysis can be, and how important it is to drive the neighborhood and really get to know it before doing your appraisal. And thank goodness I hadn't sent it out yet. He had been reviewing my report, and so I guess he figured that maybe that area wasn't as good as what I thought it was, and so he was kind of showing me. It was a tough lesson, but it was, I remember it to this day.
That's amazing. Wow. What an experience. That is something else. Hey, there's something to be said is, the food always looks good in the picture. You got to paste it. It's actually what it is. Oh my goodness.
But I've had some great experiences like that. And, and we're a very unique and niche like profession. It's kind of like diamond cutters or something like that. Nobody really understands what we do. Go to a party and somebody will ask me what I do for a living. I'll say, well, I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. And they'll ask me, well, how much you think my house is worth? And like, yeah, like, no, that's not what I do. I do commercial properties. Well, what is a commercial property? So anyway, but nobody understands what appraisers do, period, but certainly not commercial real estate appraisers.
So I agree with you on that one.
We're small pond. We know just about everybody in our field. So
there's truth to that one. That's definitely the case. So after you leave Merrill Lynch, did you stay in Dallas or did you migrate around the country?
Well, I stayed in Dallas for 6 years, and then I thought I would, because I got explore genes. I thought go to Flagstaff, Arizona, because there's only one MAI there at the time, and I thought, hey, this would be great. You get there, I'll clean it up. I'll be the MAI, and got there and started up my own company. I was just not getting business and couldn't figure it out. So I thought I'd get a side gig with Northern Arizona University, which is in Flagstaff, and then applied for this opening with a research center that was associated with the School of Hotel and Restaurant Management. And the dean interviewed me and said, well, you're an MAI. You seem like you might be overqualified. And I said, well, let's see how it goes. And so I ended up being the manager of a research center that worked on tourism research that was associated with the school. And also great experience. And so I taught with the School of Hotel and Restaurant Management, did courses related to hotel investment. I also taught with the finance department of the School of Business and taught real estate finance, other finance courses over there. Just had a blast. We did a lot of great things with the research center, worked for the Native American tribes in the area, the Hopis, the Navajo, the White Mountain Apaches, and we got a pretty good feel for third world issues. And so then I thought, well, can we apply these globally? Where else can we apply these concepts? And so I went to DC and talked to some of the folks with USAID, and they put together an RFP to do ecotourism research in Costa Rica. So I put together a proposal where it was a two-part thing. We'd have key players from Costa Rica come up, learn ecotourism, and then the second phase would be us going down there. Unfortunately, I left before the second phase came in, but we did a great first phase, and those developers and government officials went back to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica became like the poster child for ecotourism in the 90s. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's probably where I peaked, Michael. That was about it. So, from a save the world standpoint, that's where Cody Jetton peaked.
Cody peaked. I love it. It's so good.
But yeah, then after that, I moved to Portland, Oregon, and was there for about a decade. Worked for Cushman & Wakefield and Bank of America. Great time there. Good people. Wish I could do a shout out to everybody that I worked with over there, but I won't do that. But fantastic people. And then and then decided that I needed to have a little bit more sunshine than the Pacific Northwest provided. So I did a bunch of research, decided that North Carolina would be a fantastic place, and specifically Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area was very appealing to me. So
Nice.
I moved here, and that's where I've been for the past 25 years. I'm loving it here.
Holy smokes. So here you go to Flagstaff, you apply what you learned and were doing in terms of first person research after you leave the Pacific Northwest to identify place to go, and you choose the Carolinas. Was there even a second or third choice on the list?
80% of all businesses fail within 5 years, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. With so many roles and responsibilities that must be managed and have nothing to do with appraisal reports, is it any surprise that it's hard to keep up, much less having a sense of peace, stability, and profitability that comes from growing your business? Given all of this, you might already be thinking about exiting your business one day. Don't miss the limited opportunity to work with Michael, a real estate expert and professional coach. He has worked with more than 300 owners and entrepreneurs to find their highest and best use by solving problems that reach their most important goals. To impress decades of learning in today's by working with Michael. Michael is famous in real estate and business coaching. With his help, you can accelerate your growth, increase your quality of life, and earn more money, all while ultimately doing less. Michael helps you not just grow your business, but also find new purpose in it and in your life. If you're ready to take control instead of being controlled, contact him on LinkedIn or email him at michaelh@paru.com.
Yes, Nashville, Tennessee was an option, and I briefly looked at Atlanta, Georgia, but decided that was too congested for me. Nashville was just about right. Charlotte was also a good city that had a lot of prospects there, but I really liked and I guess it was probably, my academic experience at Northern Arizona University that made me decide on the Raleigh area, because we've got 3 major universities: Duke University, NC State, and Chapel Hill University of California, of Carolina at Chapel Hill. So 3 wonderful universities. So a very high ratio of PhDs here, probably is second only to like the Boston area. So
Really? That's impressive stats.
yeah, part of the research here. So it's like I figured I'd be comfortable. It's not a it's not a huge city like Chicago or LA or even Atlanta. And but it's because we've got a lot of institutional businesses here. The universities, we've got state government, we've got county government, we've got all these institutional players. That's almost like a bond. There's not this boom or bust like I experienced in Dallas. Dallas was like every other year was a boom, every other year was a bust, and that's just that gets monotonous after a while. So sure enough, I mean, whether there's luck or whether it was a good call, I don't know. Coming to this area has been great. It's been measured growth, good employment. During the Great Recession, people were moving here from the Northeast, because we had jobs, and property values held up pretty well during the recession. And so it was, just happened to be a good choice, I guess.
Wow, that is something else.
And,
Holy smoke.
I like the fact that we're a short drive to the mountains and then a short drive to the coast. That also is a kind of a nice thing. So
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Wow. So when, so you make this transition to Raleigh, having learned the hard way when you were at the Flagstaff about there being one whole MAI there. What was the reception like for you being a new professional in a new market back when you and Prince were singing, "We're going to party like it's 1999"?
Well, yeah, again, the people in our profession are really good people. And we one of the first things that my partner at the time uh, d- decided that we needed to do was start going to these appraiser breakfasts. And yeah, and these are like, yeah, these are, I call them the moss horn breakfasts. I don't know if you know what a moss horn is, but if
Sure, I do not.
you don't know what a moss horn is. So this comes from being up in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Moss horns are these old bucks that elk deer, they're so old, and elk keep their antlers instead of shedding them. They're so old that moss starts growing on their horns, on their antlers. And so you see a buck out there with moss on the horns, they've been around for a long time. So I started calling these guys moss horns at this breakfast because, wait, they were like 80 years old and they were still doing
That's
it.
a hilarious reference. Moss horn.
Yeah.
I have a different appreciation for what that is. Wow.
Well, these guys were very welcoming, and they kept saying, there's more business here than anybody can do. So, we would just come together, we just talk about anything that needed to be discussed, different markets. We'd bring comparable sales to share them, and
Well, it's a community is what I'm hearing.
oh yeah, yeah, and that that stuck with me and made me want to continue being, in a community of appraisers here. So I went on to be the president of the North Carolina chapter of the Appraisal Institute. Probably the longest standing person in the officers chain, because I went through about 4 years and then dropped out for personal reasons. And then they voted me back in for another like 4 years before I became president. So I really got to know the Appraisal Institute, how it works, and the local chapter. And so hopefully I was a good leader and helped us out here in North Carolina during those years of leadership.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's something else, man. Holy cow. So how did you start investing right when you got out of A&M, or how did that come together?
well, yeah. So there were kids along the way. It's you, you know, there was investing, but I was investing in my kids, I guess, and that's an investment. And but as far as investing in real estate, started very slowly. I wasn't this get rich quick kind of thing that you read about, nothing down, get rich quick. It was slow. I'd
Get rich slow. Okay.
get rich slow, buy a house, live in it. It would be a fixer upper, and I'd do most of the work myself.
Yep.
Rewired a garage. It had one outlet in the whole garage, and that's where the washing machine was plugged into. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can see this is functional obsolescence. So I went to work and put in 7 more outlets myself, wired them up, got a master, yeah, got a master electrician to come in, take a look at my work, and then do the final wiring. But yeah, I was doing stuff like that, just building equity, each house a little bit more. So by the time, and that was in Oregon. And so by the time I left Oregon, had some investment money put down, worked with a partner for 3 or 4 years, went out on my own, started my own company, had, you know, had investments then, invested in single family, commercial, and just a little bit at a time. It's just buy in, buy low, fix it up, sell it, and take the equity, put it down on something else. And finally, got to where with that I could pay off some of the single family and then, have no debt on it. Same thing with the commercial properties and then if I needed to refinance, I could refinance. But yeah, so had properties paid off during the Great Recession, and so I wasn't really worried. Yeah, it just again, Forrest Gump. I happened to be at the right place at the wrong time or whatever, and
As they say, it's you can't foreclose on a property if you don't have any liens against it.
yeah, yeah. And I'd done a lot of work for banks, worked for Bank of America. I knew,
Yep.
yeah, well, money and banking 101. It's like, our whole society is based on somebody loaning money to a borrower and
Yep.
fractional banking, it, it's amazing that our society, our culture is based on the lending process. And, and, and yet, you know, a really good investor will be very careful about borrowed money, be very careful with it. And I learned that. And so, you don't grow very fast unleveraged like that. So I'm very careful about leveraging and I only do it when I have to, when I come across a really good deal. But otherwise, just grow by cash flow. And you know, uh, right now I don't have to work, but I enjoy doing it. So it's yeah, I could play golf, I guess, but that's boring.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the helpful thing, Cody, and one of the things that's so insightful and informative around season 11 is that ability to actually apply the book knowledge, and in this case, the field knowledge you were gathering, not necessarily for somebody else, but for yourself. So, how'd you get started with that first property you invested in?
I lived there. you know, I
Got it.
uh, I don't know exactly where I picked up that plan, but it's basically, you buy a fixer upper, you live in it, you fix it up, and then a couple of years later, you sell it and buy another fixer upper, and that's the way I did it. It's it's not magic. It's just
Sure.
keeping after it, and
I get it. Were your first couple ones, Cody, were they, oh, so you buy a home, you live there, you fix it up. I think you said you sold that, you buy another one. Did you buy another place you lived in, or when was the first property you purchased that you were not living in?
I guess it was my office condos, because, well, no, that this house that my wife and I purchased, well, it wasn't a fixer upper. It's kind of like, it's not a, I don't think there's any such thing as a forever home. Yeah, you hear that, but I don't think there's anything like that. But this is just a great home. And this is kind of like, I've got other properties, but this is our home. And this is the first one I guess I ever bought that I didn't have in mind that I was going to fix it up, sell it, rent it out or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of different being in a house on a golf course, like, you know,
Mhm.
I don't have to fix it up. I don't have to rent it out.
Kind of a nice thing. Kind of nice. So, have you always just stayed in the investing in single families?
I know I've had several office properties. Office is, office is having a tough time right now because we're all working from home or, working remotely. But, yeah, I had offices, still have an office that's rented out. And yeah, I've got a great tenant and in a great location. I don't plan to ever sell it. And I don't plan to sell any of my properties. So, but yeah, so I've had commercial properties. Haven't done retail or industrial. I'm looking at those properties right now And I'm always looking, always cranking the numbers, looking at MLS, looking at, I've got broker friends who are sending me flyers all the time. And so a good network of people, attorneys, brokers, just a lot of great contacts, keep me apprised of what's out there. And also, Michael, being an appraiser, you and I've talked about this, being an appraiser, you know what's going on in that area. And I've got a client I just had a meeting with today, an institutional client. It's got this major development planned, and it's confidential, but it's going to make a great impact in the Raleigh market. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I could just go buy a commercial property right next door, buy some land. I could buy, a single family home in a neighborhood next to it. And it'd be like, 5 years from now, yeah, $1 million, wouldn't even cover the property. It's just, but that's something that I know, it's like insider trading, except you don't get penalized for it,
Well, it's not. Yeah, I mean, insider trading is using, stuff in that's stock market and regulated industry kind of stuff. Like that's not the case here at all. It's that
Yeah, yeah. And, it's absolutely going to remain confidential. There's nothing, I'm not saying anything to anybody about it, but I'm quietly looking around in the area and looking for all kinds of properties that could be enhanced once this comes online. So, I mean, as appraisers, we're always looking at properties like that. We've got this subject property that is proposed, and very few people know what's going to go on there, and the zoning change and all that. We're privy to so much data. And if we don't use it to further our own interests, well, shame on us.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you've done all the hard work. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing, you know this, and I know this, but it's fascinating how many times I have this conversation with people in the profession around what's actually confidential. And, barring confidentiality agreements that you may sign with a client, which hardly happens. I mean, unless you're in the line of work, maybe that you and I are in and others, but not a lot. Aside from that, like you look at, it's primarily, your client, it's the, individual characteristics of your subject property and a couple other components. But by and large, all the research and analysis you do, that's not confidential. I mean, from the standpoint of you've done the work to develop this opinion of the trends, of the activity, maybe even to conclude to value. But by and large, like you've done the work. Now, what are you going to do with it? Stick it in a file and give it away? You're going to actually pay attention to it and say, hey, maybe there's something good going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the chances of upzoning this tract that's right next door to it? Because everyone might have like a residential zoning right now, but it's surrounded by commercial. So why don't we pick up that residential property and then learn how to go through the rezoning process, or hire an attorney, who specializes in representation for rezoning and get it rezoned. One of my appraisers that worked for me when I first moved to North Carolina started his own company, and then he's doing that. He buys old homes in Chapel Hill, he demolishes them, and he builds this beautiful modern homes, spec homes, but they sell real quick like. And so he's developing, he's doing a great job, and it came from him just learning the market, knowing what piece of land would there be some upside on, and he's done a great job of it through the years.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get that. Absolutely, totally get that. It's such a wonderful example of putting to use, all that knowledge. I mean, it's phenomenal. How did you come to choose to invest in office properties beyond the condo?
It it's just, and I think anything is a possibility, and so you're looking at different property types, and you got, we're experts in all property types, industrial, retail. So you got to be up on everything, vacancy rates, rental rates. Are they going up? Are they going down? Is there softness in the market? What kind of absorption have you got there? So I'm always looking for a wide range of properties, different asset classes. And so, it doesn't matter if it's single family or retail or office or industrial. It's more about, what kind of return will I get from this particular property? And, is it a distressed sale? Is it a fixer upper? Go back to my roots, and that's what I've done with commercial properties too. There've been fixer uppers, you know, literally, you know, clean things up and repaint and repave, restripe, just make it look better, bring in a new class of tenants. And so anyway, yeah.
That is something else. When and given all that, all that you've been around, and because you had such an interesting start getting to work with such a, such an accomplished professional at the beginning of your career, what do you see that has opened the doors for you? Like said, the Forrest Gump reference, but nonetheless, Forrest Gump did take action. Well, as well, you did as well. But, one of the intentions of this season is really to be able to encourage and inspire our peers, as you said, grow by cash flow, not just sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else go by, but actually, take an appropriate, if not cautious, step into the opportunity to, build wealth and cash flow in the short term, wealth in the long term, by actually owning as opposed to just observing. What is it that our peers need to do to, maybe follow in some of your footsteps?
Gosh, Michael, that is an awesome question. That cuts to the core of it, I believe. And you know what? I've done a lot of thinking about that, academically and just plain old experience wise. What I've decided is that there's this mentality. You either have it or you don't have it. It's this wealth mentality that you have to start with. And it's part being able to take risk.
Yeah.
But also being able to sacrifice. I look at investing, not just real estate investing, but stocks and bonds. So I'm in this. I have a pretty good, I think, pretty decent stock portfolio, and so what I've learned through the years, just school of hard knocks, is you got to have this wealth mentality. Part of it is risk, like I say. The other part is this ability to live within your means. And investing is like playing baseball, I think. That's what it comes down to. Investing is playing baseball. If you get up there, you got your bat, and I'm like a base hitter. So I'll hit it run to first. And then from first, I'll go to second. Second, I'll go to third. Third, I'll come in. Hopefully if I got a good team behind me, I'll make it into home. There'll be a run. Every once in a while, I might hit a home run. But before you can get up there to start swinging,
Yep.
you got to be able to live within your means. You don't even get to play the game unless you have the ability to take risk and the ability to live within your means so that you can set money aside. And I mean below your means. And that takes sacrifice. You're not willing to take risk or take sacrifice. You don't have that wealth mentality.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And for those people who can relate to what you shared and also recognize that they're, they're kind of like there, but they're not all the way there. What do you reflect on? Maybe words of wisdom, maybe a particular experience, or just some overall, putting the, putting a little, gasoline in the engine that would maybe provide some encouragement for those that are close but not there.
Well, I tell you what, the best way to become a seasoned investor is to start slow. Start slow. And anybody can be an investor. You go to Costco, all right? You don't think of yourself as an investor, but you go to Costco, and what do? You like green beans, so you get a case of green beans, right? And you're paying a very discounted price for that case of green beans. Well, in investment terms, you're going long on green beans. So you're an investor. You start with that. Just acknowledge the fact that you're going to start somewhere, and you get that case of green beans. And man, so the price of green beans goes up, but you've gone long. So, every time you open up that can of green beans, you're like, oh, this is, I'm saving 10 cents or I'm saving 20 cents, and,
Yeah.
and keep track of that and put that aside and say, look, because I saved $2 on this, I put $2 into a reserve account somewhere, and, and it has here's another thing. Have you ever done the calculation on, so I like to go to Starbucks to get a coffee. And that's, used to be like a couple of dollars. Now it's like $4, depending on what you get. But if you're going a couple of times a day, you can calculate, that turns into thousands of dollars by the end of the year. If you
Yes.
cut that back in half, you can put 500 away. And another thing too is young people have an advantage in that they have time on their hand, as opposed to like an 80-year-old who's decided he or she is ready to go out and invest. If you're in your 20s or your 30s, best thing to do is put something down into stocks, say, for example, and just leave it there. Or better yet, do dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is, you're probably familiar with that. This comes from the MBA days. You put in $100 a month and you buy $100 worth of 1Q, which is a NASDAQ ETF, one of my favorites. You buy $100 of 1Q once a month. And if it's down, you buy more shares. If it's up, you buy fewer shares. But every month you're putting $100 in. That adds up. And you think, well, I'm not much of an investor, but $100 a month, I mean, in 30 years, I mean, you could be, halfway then a millionaire just doing that. So if you,
That is not actually, you'll be more than a millionaire. I've seen the stats. I find that in there. They tell the story of two people that are in their 20s, and the one person starts investing, like you said, puts away, I think it's $100 a month, every month from 20 until like late 20s, not even 30. And the other person doesn't. And then the other person starts, I think, at 30. And then they're like, by the time they're 55, the person at age 30 never catches up to the person who did 20 to 30, for 10 years. Like the power of compounding, as Warren Buffett likes to say, is another wonder of the world.
absolutely. And that's another wealth mentality thing: risk, the ability to live within your means, and and the ability to think like an investor and put that money aside like that. It's so what I did with my employees as a bonus, we'd have a great year. And so as a bonus thing, the younger employees, I'd open up a stock account and, get them to open it up, show them how to open it up and have them with the passwords and all that kind of stuff, show them how to buy stock and then give them $500 and say, okay, here's what I recommend, buy these 3 ETFs, and just keep adding to it. Just keep buying, more and more stock and just those ETFs. Don't buy individual stocks, just ETFs, index funds. And so that's what we did and taught them how to invest in the stock market. They'd never done that before. And so got them interested. Years later, I'm, still talking to them. Yeah, I have that account and it's grown. It's like tripled, but you got to start somewhere, and just get after. Starting early is the best advice.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Love that. Well, hey, Cody, I mean, given everything that you've seen and you've heard and you've experienced, what are you looking forward to or optimistic about over the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years. Okay, so
3 to 5, not 35 necessarily, 3 to 5.
yeah, I could go 35 years, Mike.
We can go 35 as well. We'll start with 3 to 5.
Well, so I the past couple of years, I've kind of gone into semi-retirement and because I don't absolutely have to work from a financial standpoint. But here's the thing, and I bet you nobody has said this on any of your podcasts, but when a person gets to the point where they don't have to work, they're wealthy enough to where, they've got plenty of cash flow coming in, and the lifestyle is, I'm not an elite kind of person. I don't have a yacht, I don't need a yacht, all that kind of stuff, but I live very comfortably.
Sure.
If you're an active person, retirement and wealth can be a bad thing. I mean, it's like, because it kind of like, okay, well, I don't have to work. Why am I working? Well, and so, but I think that good people, good men, good women need a purpose in life. We have to feel like, we're still viable, we're active, and I'm still running races. I'm training for a half marathon coming up in March, and I've got my workout stuff here, so I'm gonna go work out after we talk. But I think that good people need to stay active physically and spiritually and financially, and we need challenges. And so I've been given an offer by a national firm to be an executive director, executive manager for the Carolinas. So I'm thinking about that, and it's like that's going to be a big commitment, and I'm excited about it. If I take the offer, and it's great people, and we're just going to have a fun time. So, you got to be careful when you arrive at that point of having the wealth that you want. Don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on your passions, and just get in a Barca lounger and watch Netflix during the day or something like that. Get out and continue to be active. Keep investing. Keep your mind going. And so, yeah, I mean, this is a situation where they came to me again. It's like the rest of my career. It's like, we think that you do well with our company. And so great people. And I am, I'm really considerate. So I don't know, another adventure here.
That's exciting, man. Congratulations.
Oh, thank
But man, Cody, I appreciate it, buddy. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time, man. And thanks for joining us on this episode of the podcast.
you bet, Michael. I've enjoyed it.
I appreciate you paying it forward and contributing to the good investing knowledge of others.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I hope I can, help others. Maybe somebody's on the fence. They're thinking, okay, well, I've got some money, should I do this deal or not? And I'd say, go for it. Do your analysis, do your due diligence.
Yep.
But just go for it.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more so, man. That is absolutely the right way to go. Absolutely the right way to go. Well, Cody, thanks so much, and you have a fantastic day.
Michael, you too, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Appraising's Appraisers on Purpose. Your enjoyment, enthusiasm, and encouragement are contagious. What an honor to highlight the paths and achievements of our guests. Thank you for doing what only you can do, clicking subscribe, clicking like, and then sharing this with 2 peers. When you signal to Spotify, LinkedIn, and YouTube that appraisers are valuable, everyone's life and work are elevated. We'd love to hear from you. Post a comment and then message on LinkedIn. Again, thank you for your time listening in on Appraisings. Go create the change that you seek.